so yellow? Virtual camera. This one. But I also need... I'm so yellow. Okay. Right, let's get this started. So, the chat here. And then over here. Oh my gosh, hello Jas, and I am so yellow, aren't I? Why am I yellow? Is this like, what is going on? I haven't changed the set. It might be the back light, maybe? Let's have a look. How's green? Does green change anything? Actually, let me move the camera, because it might be... Okay. Right. That's a bit better. Yeah, what? I think it was the angle. Okay. Hi, Jeff. Nice to see you. The vibe came back with the decorate. Hi, Noriko. Nice to see you. Sorry, let me just adjust. Now I'm red. Oh my gosh. Should I just turn on the light behind me? It's fine. I hope you guys can hear me. Hi Layla, hi Maggie. Oh my gosh, everybody's here. All the regulars, thank you very much for coming. Today is gonna be a bit of a relaxed stream. We're not gonna do anything too crazy. Thank you very much, Jas. I'm a colourful boy. But let's move this out the way because it's a bit distracting, and I think audio is okay. And then, will I put people on stage? I am planning to accept you lovely, wonderful people on stage today, because sometimes I want to take a break, right? Sometimes I want to give you guys the chance to shine bright like a diamond. So, yeah, today I prepared a lot of interesting questions. We're gonna... What was it? I often use the New York Times for ideas on good discussions. Of course, sometimes I do a themed lesson, like last time we did a bit of AI. But, you know, when I don't have so much time to prepare, I just grab an idea from the New York Times. And there are a lot of interesting discussions today, so... hopefully. Yes, if you do want to join, you can join from Hello Talk if you want to come on stage. I will post the YouTube link once... Sorry, 1 second. Let me quickly bring... What is up with the lighting? Right. So I need to move Hello Talk on this side so I can see it. And then... Oh, this is going to be difficult. Sorry, give me a second, guys. So... live. While you're waiting, you can get a quick drink, because this could be a long discussion. Okay, don't worry. I've muted it. And then copy, paste into Hello Talk. Where did Hello Talk go? Here it is. Okay. And then I will pin this comment. Ta-da! Alright. There you go. Whoa! It's an endless void. Okay. You want to see my third screen? Huzzah! Huzzah! Oh, okay. Right. Enough playing around. So how was your day? Did you guys have a nice, what do you call it? Did you have a nice weekend? I mean, today I didn't do much. I went outside, and I'm living in Tokyo, so there should be a million things to do. But, like, it's too hot outside, and then I went into a department store, and everything is just clothing stores, and I'm not interested in clothes. I like books, but I want to save money because I just bought like 5 new books from Amazon. So, oy, oy, oy. I want to like meet up with people and go to social events, but then again, it's like it doesn't match with the timing. Most of the events are right now, late Saturday evening, but I want to do this live stream as well. So, you know, you gotta sacrifice one or the other. You can't have your cake and eat it too, as they say in English. All right, but yeah, it is troublesome. Nice, I'm glad to hear it. It's going well, Layla. Um, and then Shia, nice to see you. You were staying at your parents' house. Oh, that's nice. I mean, Obon, it's the long holiday in Japan. A lot of my students are taking time off. Me, poor little me, I don't get so much time off. Nah. But because my students take time off, I also have less lessons than usual. So I kind of indirectly get a holiday, but I can't go anywhere because I still have some lessons. So, but there you go. That's being a freelancer. Um. Oh, sugar. Did I? I did accidentally pin your message. Yeah. Sorry. Thank you. This one. There we go. Job done. Sorry. I need to move these windows, don't I? To make my face a little bit bigger, although it's not necessary, but it might be good anyway. Right. So I think once we wait a few more minutes, we can begin with today's lesson. Okay? So yeah, have you guys been doing anything special? Let me just quickly get a drink. Ah, I see the time limit. Yes. So, I think for today, we're gonna. What was it? I'll give you a quick sneak peek. I'll show you a little bit. Actually, now that I think about it, it should be fine. So, here you can see this is the list of questions that I use. Over 600 prompts for narrative and personal writing. Yeah, these are divided by different themes and topics. For example, overcoming adversity, meaning overcoming a difficult challenge, your personality, hobbies and interests, a daily life, and so on. Yeah. These are great for like just writing, using a dictionary, expanding your vocabulary, but today we're going to use it as a spark for discussion, right? So I think we're pretty much ready to go. What was it? Hi, LJ, nice to see you. You look so young. I know. I mean, a lot of people say that. And when I say students, a few years ago when I was teaching in university, I also felt very strange being called teacher and calling them my students because I was only a few years older than my students. So I was, I think, in university, when I was teaching at university, I was 20, 24 or 25, but my students were like 20, 21, 22, so they weren't that much younger than me, so it did feel a bit strange. Watching me change colours, oh my gosh, am I still changing? Anyway, whatever. If I look like I'm embarrassed, it's just the lighting. Okay, I think we're ready. So, I'm going to choose a random question. We're just going to go through them. If you guys have any questions about English or any questions you want to, offer, yeah, to maybe dive deeper into a certain topic, then please do comment as usual in YouTube or Hello Talk and so on. Okay. And then I will also be taking people on stage to share some of your answers because, of course, you don't want to listen to just me all the time. Yeah. Okay, right. Let's quickly test. So that's working. Oh gosh, it's on that side. Okay, cool. Right. let's have a look at question 1. I'm going to choose a random one. Let's go for what do you splurge on? Oh, this is a good word. Splurge, yeah. Whether it's a pair of sneakers, new makeup, a concert, or something else, when you have some extra cash, how do you spend it? Yeah. So splurge, meaning to spend more money than usual, right? So earlier I said I'm not interested in clothes, yeah? So I don't spend much money on clothes, but recently I've been spending a lot of money on books, for my Japanese study, but also for fun. So recently I've been splurging on books. But what about you guys? What do you guys splurge on? Maybe food, clothes, books, video games? For me, when I was younger, it used to be video games, definitely. And sometimes I still do buy video games, but usually books nowadays, though I don't always read them. If you look at my shelf, I think I've only finished maybe like 2 or 3 of them, because a lot of them are just like, it's not one story, it's a lot of short stories, or maybe a lot of like random knowledge. So it's very easy to just stop after 1 chapter, 2 chapters. So, but anyway, let's have a look at some of your answers. Uh, we should be having money to splurge. That's right, Jess. You do need money to splurge, right? Um, Hi, Ron. Hi, Eric. And then I didn't read all of it. Anyway, so guys, what do you splurge on? Share in the comments, yeah? Um, let's have a quick look at this article. Oh, I don't know how this picture of a cute hedgehog is connected to the question, but Simon Spichak playing with his pet hedgehog Goober is at his home in Toronto. That's very cute name, Goober. Oh, how adorable. Yeah. What was the last item or experience? That's a good point. It doesn't have to be a physical item. You splurged on. That is something you didn't necessarily need, but really wanted and were willing to spend some extra cash to get. Did it make your life better? Yeah. So, for you guys, what did you splurge on recently? Yeah. As I said, recently I bought books. Anything else? I want to splurge more on food. These days, I've been cooking a lot. Very easy meals like curry and rice, cream stew and rice, spaghetti, but I make like a week of spaghetti in one go. I freeze it, then I have it every day for the next week. It's not great. You get bored very quickly, but it's a great way of saving money, and you can make it pretty healthy as well if you add the right ingredients. But yeah, what about you guys? Splurging on anything? Um, let's have a look at this article. So, in A Hedgehog, a Centrifuge, and Other Millennial Life Improvement Splurges, Caitlin Kelly writes about the non-essential items that young people are spending their money on, including a pair of roller skates, a paraglider, a garden, and a tiny animal friend. This person bought a garden? Huh? Well, that doesn't sound right. Buying a garden? I can understand roller skates and maybe a small pet, but pets can be really expensive, right? They're not cheap, especially if you have to take them to the vet. Right? These bills, the medicine, the food, other pet goods, the money really adds up very quickly, right? So gotta be careful. Jeez. But there you go. Oh, is it a bit small, Layla? Sorry, let me zoom in a little bit more. Is that a bit better? Yeah? Okay, thank you for letting me know. But anyway, let's move on to the next question. Let's delete that. let's have a look at what communities are you a part of? What communities would you like to explore? Inspired by a Times photo essay series called Where We Are, we invite you to think about why community matters. Well, first of all, let's quickly talk about why community matters. So, community, it's a group, a much larger group that you might belong to. Could be a sports group, could be a book club, could be the Hello Talk community as well. I mean, we have a small community here. I'm very lucky to have you guys join my community. So thank you very much. And yeah, why is community important? Why is community important? Let me just give you a few moments to answer this question in the comments. And also, if you want to come on stage, please do raise your hand. So let me just move this over here. Okay, so why is community important? Yeah. Hi, Margarita. Nice to see you. Oh my gosh, I look like a tomato. Jeez. Anyway. So, do you have a community? And if so, what do you do there? Why is it important? For me, I feel that all people get lonely sometimes, right? It's very normal to feel lonely, especially during COVID. And it's not easy, right, to deal with the loneliness. Even if you're an introvert, people want to talk to others, and you will go crazy if you don't have the chance to talk to other people. Even if you're a shy person, it can be family, friends, or, classmates. But we all need somebody to talk to once in a while. But Layla says we're meant to be a community from the beginning. Yeah, humans are social creatures, right? And if we don't have anyone to talk to, it's just a nightmare. But for me, I am part of a few different communities. I mean, am I? I don't know if I'm a real member of that community or if I'm just a visitor, kind of outsider who's interested. But, I try to join meetup groups, language exchange groups, and what else? Apart from that, yeah, I just have my personal friend groups. And I really would go crazy if I didn't have these communities or small groups that I was a part of. But yeah, what do you guys think? Nobody wants to come on stage yet? Okay. Oh, sorry. I think Jas has raised his hand. Jas, do you want to answer this question? If so, just type a letter or anything. Noriko says, I joined the English conversation community for Japanese. We can encourage each other, enjoy it together. That's very nice. Yeah, I think it's so much more motivating. It's so much easier to continue doing something difficult, for example, learning a language, if you have other people who are struggling in the same way. Okay, I'll let you on, Jas, in a moment. But it can be really lonely. English is such a popular language, but for rarer languages like Japanese, Korean is getting more popular. It can be very lonely if you don't have people who understand your struggles, right? I don't have any people who I can complain to about the difference between wa and ga, and all of these inside jokes, for example. Eriko jozu desu yo ne, and like this kind of like flattery. But it's a lot more fun if you have those people who are in the same boat, right? But Margarita, a member of the entrepreneurs community. Wow, it's very interesting. Okay. Right, let's let Jas onto the stage, as he did take the effort to come over from YouTube. I hope I can hear him. So I might have to change the settings a little bit at first. So let's have a look.
Yeah. Just close
Oh,
my camera.
perfect. I can hear you, Jazz.
Can
Can
you
you
can you hear me?
hear? Yep. Can you hear me?
Yep, perfectly.
Great. All right. How are you doing today?
I'm doing good. It
Yeah.
was Saturday, so I just
It was just
I
Saturday.
was sleeping today. Like tomorrow we're gonna like go out for somewhere.
Oh, nice. Okay. So you were able to sleep in.
Yeah.
Good. Good. All right.
Mm,
And sorry, what did you say?
nothing, nothing, nothing.
Nothing. All
Just
good.
listen. That's my family.
All right. So yeah, Jess, I mean, for you, are you a part of any special communities or just, close friend groups or like it doesn't have to be a huge
Mm-mm.
community?
I mean, I usually try to be in community because, as you said, if I don't have a community, you go crazy. Same goes for me.
Exactly. Mm, mm.
I mean, like, I thought I'd make a community. Like, I made a group of like special friends in here,
Oh, nice.
and we usually like talk about the like things, like random things.
Mm,
Um, and then like I try to make a community like on a different app where people usually write letters to each other,
mm, mm.
like the ancient time that it takes time to deliver the letters. Like
Oh, I see.
when I don't want to have like instant messages, but I still type messages to people, like it takes time to deliver, it takes time to get back a message.
True. True. Yeah. I guess if you've ever been in those group chats where there are so many people, or if you're talking to many people individually in a private conversation, it can take a long time to get back to other people, and sometimes you forget to reply. So it's quite exhausting, isn't it?
It is, it is. That is why like that is the reason why I put the letter thing. I usually type letters to people and like it's not necessary to like
Mm.
reply them immediately. I sometimes reply them after a week, after a
Yeah.
month, and they're like
Yeah.
normal because it's the
Mm.
normal thing in letters.
Exactly. Sorry, you're saying the word, was it letters? Ladders?
Letters.
Ladders? As
It's
in.
like pen pals.
Oh, I see. You're talking about physical letters, as in like paper and pen and.
It's actually not actually like that, but like there's an
Oh.
app like Slowly. It's like it actually have like international friends. You connect with each other,
Oh.
and you write messages like long messages like letters to each other. So
Oh,
that's
I
what they
see.
usually call pen pals, digital ones.
Ah, interesting. That's a good point, actually. I think you bring up a very interesting situation. I mean, I know it's not a physical letter, but I guess this app is supposed to simulate that feeling, right? Um,
Yeah, it's like very similar to original letter
oh,
because
that's
you
good.
collect stems, you give other people
Oh,
stems.
that's cool.
Even like for iPhone, like it's like more um connecting because in iPhone you have a different app to do that. You even like write letters
Right,
with
I see.
pen over the screen.
Mm-hmm.
You write and send it instead of typing. So it's
Ah,
only an iPhone, but yeah,
I
it's a
see.
mix. It's a
I
mix.
like that idea because, of course, I mean, when it comes to letters nowadays, DMs, it's so easy to message someone. We can write one letter, one word. It can be as short or as long as you like. But back in the day, in our parents' generation, before the internet, if you wanted to message somebody on the other side of the world, you have to update them on months of events, and it takes a long time just to send the thing. So you really had to think carefully about what you write, unlike nowadays, right?
Yeah, like um how to say like I try to be like making communities
Mm-hmm.
and then I try to talk with them, but like most of the times I'd be like, Jazz, what are you gonna talk about? You don't have anything to talk.
I mean, it's tough, isn't it? Because especially if you're close and you've already done the small talk about work and everything, nothing special, then you do kind of run out of things to talk about, right?
Mm-mm. It's just like Altox gives me opportunity to talk with like international people.
Mm,
So like
mm,
it's not the same as India. Like if I did something, for example, I ate something,
yeah.
okay? And what I can do in international group that I can take a picture and then send it to people like, oh, see, I ate
Right.
it. But if I do the same with Indian people, they're gonna be like, Jas, are you crazy? Why you sent it to this?
I see, yeah. They're like, why are you sending me a picture of your dinner? Like, what the heck?
What you doing?
I see, I
I'm not
see.
gonna be like that.
Yeah, but okay. Yeah, I guess depending on the group or the community that you're interacting with, you might change the way you behave slightly, right? Like with one group, you might make more jokes and be a bit more rude, but in a friendly way, if that makes sense. But with other people, you might be a bit more polite, a bit more family friendly, let's say.
Indeed.
Mm,
I just feel like I added all of my friends in a group and I'm like, instead of texting me personally, text in the
nice.
group.
I see. Okay, sounds great. Yeah. But I'm glad you have your community. It's like my final question for you before we move on to another topic. But would you
So,
prefer to be a part of like one huge community with like hundreds and hundreds of people, or would you prefer to be a part of like lots of smaller communities? Like, let's say you have lots of different hobbies and you go to different, meetups and things like that.
um, if it's like category like one for music and one
Mm-hmm.
for just like reading books,
Mm.
then I think that would be much like efficient. Because for
Mm.
example, if I'm in a mood of reading a book, I can just type, "Hey guys, what book did you read recently?
True.
I'm craving to read a book about this and that."
Exactly.
Hmm.
Yeah. Mm. And I guess the smaller groups, you can get the chance to really connect with the individual members, right? But if you go to a party and there are like 100 people, it's a bit scary and you don't really get to remember each individual person, right?
Indeed.
Mm.
Even like communities actually helped me to learn. Like I'm learning Chinese. I
Mm.
don't know if you know about it.
Oh, yeah. I
Um,
guess from the characters in your name.
can you read that?
No, I cannot.
Okay, okay, okay. So, what I did, like, I usually have Chinese people as my
Mm.
followers, or you can say as my community.
Mm. Mm.
So what I usually do is like, even the group is for chit chat.
Right.
I usually like change the topic to study, and then I was
I
like,
see.
I again started study talking, and somebody typed in, Jazz, wherever you go, you make it a study, please. So
But
that's
it's
what's happening in my communities.
right. But it's good that you have this like study group, and when people see you studying, they're gonna feel a bit motivated and inspired to study as well. So I think you're doing a great job, Jess.
Indeed, like me asking questions, like Chinese questions, a lot of people ask their
That's
English
very good.
questions and Chinese in the community. That
Exactly.
helps.
Yeah, definitely. I think many people are very scared to ask questions. But when you ask a question and you hesitate, you think, maybe this is a stupid question. There's a very high chance that somebody else wants to know the answer to that stupid question. So I think go for it. Great job.
Mm-mm. Yeah, for me, like even if I have questions about ESMR,
Mm,
I ask it. I don't mind if it's a stupid question. I just
mm,
ask it if I
yeah,
want it.
exactly. Yeah. I mean, you're gonna regret it later because you'll still be confused, but yeah, very good. Well done, Jess. Thank
Indeed.
you. So I'm gonna move on to the next question. So I'm gonna kick you off stage, but you can come back later if you'd like. But any final comments about community or this topic?
Mm-mm. I think we talked enough. I'm jumping off now.
Oh, sorry, what was that?
Like, I'm like, I think that's enough. We
Oh,
like
that's
had a
enough.
great conversation about it.
Oh, that was great.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I I
Yeah,
apologize. I want to talk to you longer, but I want to keep things moving just so that we can, study a lot of
that's
different
okay.
things today.
Okay,
But
I
thank
can
you so
try
much for
hopping on
coming
again.
online.
I can try coming up again.
Yeah,
Thanks for
sure.
giving me a
Sounds
chance.
good. Thank you very much, Jas. Have a wonderful day. I'll see you in a bit. Okay?
Sure.
See you. There we go. Jas, always very proactive, ready to come on stage and try things. Very nice. Thank you very much, Jas. Oh my gosh, it is really hot. Sorry, let me just quickly turn on the aircon and we'll move on to the next question. Where the heck is the remote? Oh, it's so hot. Okay, okie dokie. Right. Let's move on. So, let's move on to the next topic. So we had a look at communities. Let's go for Ooh. What is your earliest memory? That's a really tough one. I will say right now, I feel like my memory is just fading, degrading, disappearing these days. Like, I can't remember what I had for breakfast this morning. Oh, it's because I didn't have breakfast. So, I often skip breakfast. What did I have for lunch? I had a rice bowl with beef, but anyway, my memory's very bad. So, what is your earliest memory? My earliest memory is probably either sitting in my bedroom on there was this like double bunk bed with my brothers, and I used to play video games with them, or working, not working, but kind of watching my parents manage the fish and chip shop. So if you don't know, my parents, they own a fish and chip shop in the UK, and I grew up there. You know, the shop was on the first floor, but the what do you call it? My house or my bedroom and the living room were all on the second floor. So often, if I'm hungry, I go downstairs to the kitchen and I say, "Mom, can I have some food?" While it's super busy and there are lots of customers. And then, you know, sometimes I help out with the wok and making the fried rice. Because it's a fish and chip shop, but it's also a half Chinese restaurant. So that's why it was a mix of both. And I would often, sometimes I'd have fish and chips, sometimes I've had Chinese food. So it really depended. But yeah, those are probably my earliest memories, I guess. What about you guys? Um, my earliest memory was when I was 1.5 years old. Noriko, you remember that far? What the? So, what did you do? Or, like, what was your memory? Do you want to come on or just share in the comments? Like, what did you do? Um, I think let's have a quick look at this picture. So, we have this cute little boy in a sailor outfit and some madeleines, not madeleines, I'm not sure how you pronounce it. Those French small snacks, they're kind of like cakes. Very nice, yeah. So, ask a few friends, parents, siblings, or teachers about their earliest memories. How old were they when they remembered their earliest memory, and how old were they when the remembered event took place? Yeah. So, for example, question: when four of us shared memories of our very young lives, not one of us could recall events before the age of 4 or possibly 3. Is this common? So, Noriko, if you really remember your memory at 1.5 years old, you are very special. Wow. It must have been a very unique memory. So, is it common to not remember anything before 3 or 4 years old? Yes, for adults, remembering events only after 3.5 or 4 years old is typical or normal. Yeah. This phenomenon was named the childhood amnesia by Freud and identified in the late 19th century. Yeah. The Henrys published a questionnaire on early memories in 1895. Wow, that was a long time ago. Most of the participants' earliest memories came from when they were 2 to 4 years old. The average was 3. Very few participants remembered things from the first year of life. Okay, so there you go. I mean, yeah, it seems to be anything after 3 or 4. I'll be honest, I can't remember what age I was when these things happened. Like, I can guess, oh, I was probably somewhere between 5 and 8, maybe. But I can't remember the year. Can you guys remember anything? And if so, what kind of memories did you have? Um, was it related to food or maybe music? Um, I apologize. I'm saying a lot. It's a terrible habit. I'm gonna I'm gonna slap myself every time I say. Okay, starting from now. So, when it comes to memories like music, movies, smells, and food, those are usually things that really remind us or are very nostalgic, right? For example, for me, the smell of incense. You know these like long sticks that you burn and you put them in the altar? If you're not Buddhist, I don't think Christians do this. It's a Buddhist tradition, and maybe Shinto. If you go to these shrines or temples, they will often burn incense. There's probably a special meaning to it, or maybe it's just for the smell, but it's just the traditional way of doing things. And that smell is very nostalgic for me because every time I went to Hong Kong and traveled around, I would always smell this. Ah! So, yeah, it's a very nostalgic smell for me. Margarita, one of my earliest memories was when I hit a boy to protect my little brother. Wow, you're brave. Good job. I mean, I don't know all the details, but if this person was bullying your little brother and he was being very evil, then good job protecting your brother. That's great. How did you slap him? Did you punch him? Um, ah. Oh yeah, I remember when I was about 3 years old, my initial days in school. Ah, that's a good one. Yeah, your first day at school. Were you the type of child to cry on the first day of school? I don't remember my first day of school, but I believe I probably cried on the first day of school. But that's a good memory. Yeah. And then related, oh, I'm sorry to hear about the abuse. Yeah, things like trauma, it can also be an early childhood memory, right? But trauma and things like, physical abuse, especially in the older generation and in Asia, hitting your children was not so rare, unfortunately. But because it's such a core, strong memory for you, then hopefully, fingers crossed, you know how painful and stressful it is, and you don't do the same thing to your children. You can break that chain of abuse, right? So, but I'm sorry to hear that. My mum told me I never cry. Wow, you're a very strong boy, Jess. Never crying. I punched him and he learned the lesson. Good job, Margarita. Well done. Yeah. Bullying will not be accepted in this classroom. I also experienced a bit of bullying and I should have fought back, but I was a very shy little boy, so I should have gotten in there. Some people say you shouldn't fight back, violence is never the answer. I personally disagree because if you don't fight back, they're going to pick on you more, and if you don't defend yourself, then things generally, I believe, will get worse. Not always, but yeah, it's tough, isn't it? So no, early childhood memories, they can be positive, they can be negative, they can be traumatic, they can be precious treasures. It really depends on, your childhood. So crying doesn't also mean you're weak. That's very true, Chia. Very good. Exactly. I think a lot of people, especially for men, I don't know about other men, but what I hear often from my male friends is that they feel like it's embarrassing to cry. And to be honest, I think women might also feel embarrassed to cry, in public, in front of friends. But for men, it can be a sign of like weakness. You know, they want to appear strong because being strong, charismatic, confident is quite attractive. But to be honest, I think those qualities are also attractive for women. You know, if women are strong, charismatic, confident, I think that's really cool and attractive. So I don't think it's just men. But okay, so yeah, your brother was suffering from bullying. Yeah. But sorry to hear that. Exactly, Momo. Very natural. Good job, Momo. I'm sorry to hear that. Okay, right. Why don't we move on? Again, please feel free to jump into the conversation. Raise your hand if you want to join in and come on stage. How would you rate your listening skills and those of people around you? Do you have good models for talk less, listen more? What have you learned from them about being a good listener? I'm so red. Are you guys good listeners? Just a quick yes, no, maybe. I would say sometimes yes, not always. Uh, but because for my job, I learned very quickly when I became an English teacher working on a website where the students can choose you, but if they don't like you, they can stop. If you're a teacher and you get into the habit of like talking too much, students will stop taking your lessons very quickly, right? And it also made me reflect on the value of just sitting back and listening. One struggle I had as a teacher was when the shy students don't know what to say or they take a long time to speak. I will jump in, or I used to jump in very quickly and ask another question or just give an example. But I've learned to kind of sit back in the silence and just be comfortable with the silence. Especially for my younger students who don't tend to talk so much. I'll say, "How was your day?" And they will say, "It was fine." And then every time I do this, I go, my body, like, I sit back, yeah, and I just wait. And then they automatically know, oh, okay, he's not going to say anything until I continue speaking. And after they give me two or three sentences, I'm like, oh, okay, nice, cool. And then I move on, right? Um, but there are many advantages of being a good listener, and I would say it's a relatively rare skill. It's a very valuable skill, especially if you're a language learner. We're so used to just speaking in class. The teacher, of course, sits back and guides us. But in real life, it you have to be socially aware, because if you're just trying to make friends and you talk too much, uh-oh, see you later. They are not going to talk to you again. Well, in most cases. But what about you guys? So Momo says yes, Margarita, good listener, good. And then it's one of the best ways to learn something, definitely, Margarita. You learn a lot more from listening than you do speaking. Speaking, you're just kind of repeating what you already know, right? Which is why I often like to. I have a Japanese teacher, and she's very good at sitting back, asking questions, and getting you to speak. But for me, I often ask her questions so I can hear the language she uses, and when she uses a cool phrase, I would say, "Oh, sorry, 1 second. What did you say?" And she will then explain that phrase. And I'll go, "Oh, cool, cool, cool," and I'll write it down, and that's one new word I can get. Um, but it's really tough because it becomes a habit, right? Do you ever get impatient while listening to someone? That's a very good question, Jas. Not really. Uh, when it comes to lessons, I'm very patient. I can sit there for 5 minutes because it's my job and I want to give them space. Now, if they're getting really stressed and they're like, "Oh, I don't know what to say," and they look really embarrassed or scared, then I will jump in and try to help them a bit. But the only time I get impatient from listening is in real life and I'm meeting somebody, especially in group conversations. If one person is just dominating the conversation and doesn't give anyone else the chance to speak, I wouldn't say I get impatient or annoyed, but I will kind of lean forward and I'll listen for a gap and I would say, "Oh, that's really cool. I didn't think about it like that." Like, what do you guys think? Do you agree with what this person said? And I would try to like pass the baton to someone else. But yeah, it's not always easy. So I'm grabbing a lot of things just by listening to you. I hope it's helpful. I should take some notes. Maybe I'll quickly open my notepad so that if there are any useful words, I can quickly share it with you guys. So, sorry, 1 second. Margarita just reminded me of my job. So, let's move this over here. Okay. So, I'm going to have this ready on my other screen. Right. Okay, so let's move on. Sorry. Where is the... Oh, I can't find the window. Okay, here we go. Sorry about that. So yeah, pointless conversations are really boring. It's true, and small talk can be very boring, but to be honest, I really think that conversations, or rather topics, can be boring or interesting depending on the person, right? So I often hear, what do you call it? There are some people who are just great storytellers, and this is not just related to vocabulary, but it's often to do with life experience. Like, if you ask somebody, "What's your hobby?" People who are super busy and they don't have time for hobbies, maybe they used to play an instrument, but now they have a full time job, it's difficult. If you ask them, "Do you have any hobbies?" they might say, I used to play the piano, but now not really, I'm just busy. Conversation ended, right? And that's not their fault. But if you ask another person who has a full time job, and on the weekends, yeah, I love studying Japanese, right? So, by the way, can I quickly show you this book? So, I got this book that's called Problem Japanese, right? And it has lots of mistakes from native speakers. For example, did you know you can feel that passion, and it's always a pleasure to hear about somebody talking about their passion or their hobby with such enthusiasm. And I think it's quite sad because often when I ask my students about their hobbies, and I meet people in real life, I rarely find somebody who talks about something so passionately. It could be because they feel embarrassed. Maybe they feel like, "Oh, it's a bit silly. People might think I'm weird if I show them how passionate I am about this niche hobby." I think it's partly to do with embarrassment because as you open up and get to know people, they do start to tell you more about their hobbies. But in a nutshell, my point is, it's not always the topic that's boring. Sometimes it's just the person. And it's not their fault. I'm not saying their personality is boring. It's just that they don't know so much about the subject, or it's just their life experience is not matching that subject. If you ask me about K-pop, I don't know anything. All I can say is that I'm very jealous of how good looking all of those K-pop handsome men look, with their cool hair and their perfect skin. But yeah. All right. So, has my picture frozen? Is everything okay? Have I frozen? Oh, it's okay. So it might be your connection, Yasol. Thank you, Jess. But yeah. So sorry. Let me go back to the other comments. I'm just listening, but never letting things flow into my brain. Just polite. That's all. Oh, I know exactly what you mean. When somebody talks for too long, for example, me, after a certain amount of time, the words just go in one ear and out the other. It's just like, whoo, and then they will stop talking, and you're like, oh, okay, right, uh huh, and then there's silence, and you're like, oh, sorry, yeah, what were we talking about? It's quite embarrassing. But you also can't just keep, like, how do I say it? I know the word in Japanese, aizuchi. It's um you can't just keep saying words to pretend you're listening, like, oh, okay, uh-huh, right. So if you want to be a good listener, you need to ask questions, because you can't ask a question if you're not listening. So if you do, it shows that you're listening carefully, and the other person will think, oh, this person's actually, like, quite fun to talk to. Like, they're really interested in what I'm saying. Now, you might just be pretending, you might not be interested, but that's not the important thing. The important thing is to build connections by doing your best to pay attention and show interest. Okay? But anyway. Oh, I should quickly write that down. Go in one ear and out the other. Sometimes. Oh, let me zoom in. It's a bit small, isn't it? Sometimes when people talk for too long, their words just go in one ear and out the other. So in other words, you don't really understand what they are saying because you lose focus. So let me just highlight this. Boop. There we go. New phrase. Go in one ear. Go in one ear and out the other. Apologies. I'm usually a good listener, Wani says, but if the conversation lesson gets boring, I space out. Ooh, space out is a good word. Space out means you just, like, look into space and you stop paying attention. It happens to everyone. I don't expect everyone to be interested all the time. We're only human, right? So, alright. And then, oh my gosh, people sending it. Thank you guys. You don't have to, but I appreciate it. So, this happens to me when I listen to podcasts. Yeah, it does happen at podcasts, doesn't it? I'm not a big fan of podcasts because I just can't concentrate for too long. If the topic is really interesting, then yes. But yeah, it's tough. I really can't focus for that long. I'm like a baby. My memory's disappearing. I'm losing focus. Oh no, what is happening to my brain? Come on, you're also one of those good. Thank you. That's very sweet. I wish. So I'm still trying not just to be a good listener, but also to be an active listener. Very good, Chia. What's the difference between a passive and active listener? An active listener asks questions, they make comments. For me, one of the things I'm trying to improve when it comes to my Japanese is not just asking questions, but giving comments. Like, showing emotion. For example, when if I tell you a really sad story about my pet dying, then many people would just say, "Oh, I'm sorry to hear that." It's like a set phrase. Anybody can say it, and it has the same meaning. It doesn't matter who says it. But if you say something like, "Oh, I'm sorry to hear that. Actually, I also had a dog. Her name was blah blah blah." And then I tried to tell you a short story to try and connect, then the other person might think, "Oh, yeah, this person really does understand me." Even if you don't have the same experience, you could say something like, "Oh, I'm really sorry to hear that. Like, it seems like you really loved your dog. For example, I thought it's great. Sorry. I think it was great that you tried to play with your dog before, they passed away. You tried to make them comfortable." Repeating what they said or paraphrasing, that's even better because it shows that you were listening super carefully and remember what they said. So not only are you practicing your English kind of memory skills, that's not the best way to put it, but you're also showing that you're focused, you care. It's like four birds, one stone, right? So this is really one of the most important skills that you must learn if you want to be a great communicator. But the problem is often you can't practice this, or many people don't practice this in their language lessons because they're so focused on speaking. Speaking is important, but personally, I believe that listening is just as important, if not more important, especially if you're at the intermediate or advanced level. But anyway, because you need to be really creative with your responses. Not just creative, but you can't predict what the other person will say. So people who can just like react, even make jokes, that person is super high level. So I encourage you to try and train your listening skills and your replies for these stories. I'm sorry, I'm not speaking very well today. Oh gosh. But anyway, I'm tidying my clothes while listening to you at the same time. Sorry for not being active. Don't be sorry, LJ. You've got your chores to do. Maybe I should do some chores while talking a lot. Thank you, LJ. I'm a good listener and even ask questions, but I'm not a good replier. It does take a lot of practice. And actually, many people can't do this even in their mother tongue. Yeah. It's a difficult skill, but very valuable. So you speak fluently. Could you share any tips? Well, English is my first language, but I do study Japanese, and I'm quite confident in my Japanese. I would say I'm quite high level. But when you say tips, what kind of tips do you want? Because there's speaking tips, listening, there's like making friends, there's like body language. I could give you tips about anything, but what kind of tips do you want? Okay, right. So while I let people respond, very effective tip: reincarnate in your target language's family. Good joke, Jas. Well done. Speak with confidence. Oh, so are you asking how can you speak with confidence? So confidence is something that is partly related to your personality, but it's also related to your level, right? So it's a bit of both, because you can be a perfect speaker, but if you're like a perfectionist and you always focus too much on the small details, you might think, ugh, I used instead of and then when I said the, what was it? For example, I said the elephant, but it should be the elephant. I won't explain why, but when you focus on all of the small details too much, then you lose confidence, and then it gives you a negative mindset. So it's partly your real language level. If you make more mistakes, you will lose confidence. But also, if you're just naturally a negative person, then you will, how do I say it, lose confidence even if you're actually better. So my advice for building confidence is, of course, talk to a lot of different people. Don't just talk to one person and get too comfortable. You have to really go out of your comfort zone and build confidence by talking to so many different people and failing a lot, right? For me, I was terrified of speaking Japanese when I went to the city hall, when I had to talk about SIM card contracts and all of this like difficult stuff. But now, thanks to taking Japanese lessons, talking to many different people, I've failed to explain things so many times that I've become very good at just explaining things in a different way when I don't remember the word or the other person doesn't understand me. So, I don't want to say it, but it's just a lot of practice. But also, if you're the negative person, try to look at yourself objectively. Try to not just think about the negative things, but think about how far you've come and how you've improved compared to last year's you, for example. Okay? But it's not easy. Good question. Does watching shows help? Watching TV shows can help. I'm personally not a fan of using TV shows and movies, and the reason is most people just pick a movie that they like, and that's not wrong, and you should pick movies that you like, but it depends on the genre. A lot of people like Harry Potter, but it's not the best movie for studying English because there are so many fantasy related words like muggle, elf, that we don't use so much in real life. If you do prefer watching something, I would say children's shows, especially shows that have like short stories, are great. And the reason is they're short. So, what you can do with these short stories, and it's not just watching things, but also what we call graded readers. I've done some reading live streams here. If you have a short story, then what you can do is note any new words you hear or read, and then summarize the story and talk about it with someone. Yeah. Many people don't do this last step. They'll just watch something, or they'll read it, and then they'll review some of the words. Finished. But remember, this is all just input. Many people fail to do the last step, which is output. That is explaining the story to somebody, right? And the great thing is, if you have a good teacher, they will not just ask you questions about the story to understand. They will also challenge you by asking your opinion. Or they might ask you an unexpected question, right? So, for example, when one of my students was talking about Harry Potter, there was a special scene. Instead of asking what happened, I asked them, why do you think this character did that? And they were like, oh, because it's not written or shown in the movie, right? You have to do some creative thinking by yourself. Why did this person do that? Well, I think it was because in the scene this happened and the character was feeling probably angry, and I would say, why was he feeling angry? And then, diving into something much deeper. So, if you do watch movies or read books, do not forget this last step of telling somebody about this book and having a discussion about the short story or whatever. Okay? Alright. Thank you very much. So, let's have a look. Cuz, こんばんは、普段、what was it? イギリス英語. Sorry, I'll say it in English. Usually, I feel like British English is very difficult to hear, but Eric's English is very easy to understand. Oh, thank you very much, Kaz. I appreciate that. Yeah, it's funny. American and British English, depending on what you're used to, it can be very difficult to hear certain accents, right? Even in your own language, if there are different dialects, it's so tough to understand some of these people, right? In the UK, we have people from Wales. Sorry, I'm getting a dry throat. 1 second. So, in the north, in Scotland and Ireland and Wales, some people have really strong accents. And I also feel sometimes when I'm speaking to these people, I think it's a really cool accent, by the way. It's definitely not bad. But sometimes I have to say, sorry, could you say that one more time? Or like, so do you mean this? Like, I have to check that I understood them completely. But it is really difficult. But thank you for the nice comment, Kaz. I appreciate it. Okay. Alright. So, we went completely off topic. Let's move on to another question. Nastran, that's right. I get a headache in British voice rooms. You get a headache? Oh, that makes me sad. No, when people speak too casually, shall I try speaking my natural, non-teacher voice? Let's challenge you. For 1 minute, I'm going to speak in my natural, native, casual voice. What should I talk about? Okay, let's pick a question first. So, do you talk to yourself? Ooh, that's a good question. Do you talk to yourself? Do you ever mumble to yourself when you're alone? Or do you have lively conversations in front of the mirror? Okay, I'm going to go casual British English. Yeah, to be honest, like, I do talk to myself. Sometimes when I'm feeling a bit lonely or like, I'm kind of like, for example, hey, my name... Okay, no, I'm thinking too much. When do I talk to myself? I do it a lot when I'm cooking, and I'm kind of like, I'll just start singing a random song that I've been listening to recently. I'll be frying something, and I'll be like, I burnt myself when the oil splashes and kind of like, okay, that's enough casual English, but actually, I feel like it didn't change that much. Of course, I spoke a lot quicker, but you're right. I think it's because I have to speak to another British person so that they can pull out the British side of me, because right now I'm still unconsciously probably speaking in teacher mode. So actually that was quite difficult. But can you do an Indian accent? I do not want to do an Indian accent because I do not want to offend anybody. Oh gosh. Bring it on! She was like, yeah, bring it on! Let's do it! But can I speak casual British English? Okay, so I'll drop the T's, right? British, not British. British English, like, bottle of water. I got a nice bottle of water here. Oh my god. Nice bottle of water. Oh wow, that's fancy. Bitter bottle. I can't do it. Okay, I'm gonna stop. Any difference? No, I don't think there was a difference, Kaz. It's the same, no difference. Oh my gosh. Try it, mate. Let's go for it, mate. You're right, bruv. Okay, no. I stand and I talk to the mirror when I have an assignment. Ooh, that's good. Yeah. I think paying attention to your facial expressions, making sure you're making eye contact, it's an important skill for presentations. For me, right now, on my main screen, I can see myself, right? You can see here, okay. But I edit videos on YouTube. I'm always recording and looking at myself. And before I record a video, I'm like, is my hair okay? Do I look good? When in reality, nobody cares, right? But I talk to myself sometimes, especially when I'm bored, and especially when I want to practice Japanese. So I'll say, for example, when I'm cooking, I'll be like, ちょっとバター入れようかなと思って。そして anyway, so I said, oh, maybe I'll put in a bit of butter, or like, I'll even change my voice sometimes. I'll be like, yeah, これはいいな, and I'll try to like make my voice deep, because what I like to do is when you're telling a story, even in your native language, but it's good if you can do this in your second language. Earlier, I talked about being a good storyteller. When I say storyteller, I don't mean like as a job, like an audiobook reader or something. I just mean a normal person who tells stories and shares personal experiences. Everyone, all of you, are storytellers. Yeah? You might not be good storytellers, you might not be bad storytellers, but everyone is a storyteller. And a great skill to have is changing your voice to act different characters. Now, you might think, well, I never need to do that. I'm not a performer, I'm not an actor. Well, no, but we all have stories where we have multiple characters or multiple people in real life. Yeah. Can I think of an example? So, just a quick example. The other day, I had a huge argument with my sister because I had a birthday cake, right? It was my favorite cake. It was like a mango cheesecake. And I never have cheesecake, okay? So, we had the cake, and then my mum, mother's too formal, my mum said, okay, everybody leave the rest of the cake for Eric. It's his birthday cake. You've all had some, so leave it for him. And you know what happened? When I woke up the next day, I looked in the fridge for a nice cheesecake, and it was gone. And then I walked into the living room. My sister is there, just eating it, like, oh, good morning. And I'm like, what the heck are you doing with my cheesecake? And so on, right? So, you don't have to act. And to be honest, I exaggerated it quite a lot. But just changing your voice a little bit to kind of act out different characters. One, it makes your story much easier to understand. And two, it's just fun to listen to, right? And who doesn't want to be a good storyteller? Yeah, there's nothing bad about having this skill. So if you can talk to yourself in different voices, and really, especially with emotion, it doesn't have to be a different person's voice. It can be your voice, but with a different emotion, right? Because I talk very differently when I'm sad, when I'm excited, when I'm angry or stressed, right? So it's definitely very good to do. But anyway, sorry. Nice broski. And then, which part have you been to Japan? I've been to many places, Kaz. I've been to I've been to many places. I've been to. It's my memory. Hiroshima. I live in Tokyo. Nagoya, Osaka, Kyoto, Nikko. Not Nikko. Anyway, a few places. But I still want to go to Okinawa and Hokkaido, the classic places. But okay, right. So self-talking, talking to yourself, is a great way to practice Inuit. Definitely, yeah. But okay, so there we go. A nice picture here. A person. This looks like one of those Russian Matryoshka dolls where there's a smaller doll inside. But does everyone talk to themselves when no one is watching? Do you? When we asked students this question a few years ago, Hilaria wrote, I talk to myself a lot. Sometimes I do it when I don't even realize it. Talking to yourself, I think, can be beneficial. Good, in other words. For example, I practice conversation with myself. I even have arguments with myself. It even helps me relieve stress. That's an interesting way of doing it. Like arguing with yourself. This could be really good for practicing like pros and cons. Like, for example, video games are bad. Absolutely not. Video games, they help you relieve stress. They're absolutely amazing. I love video games. But don't you get addicted, right? Like, so many people stop doing homework and they just play video games until 2 a.m. Yeah, that's true, but that's not everyone, right? Now, of course, that's quite fast, it's quite difficult, but you can go very slowly. You can make it a simple conversation. I often have to, not have to, I make videos with this puppet you can see here. So, I've been making stupid videos with my puppet here, and of course, I have to make conversations between me and the puppet. So, like, what should I talk about? Let's talk about something interesting. What's an interesting topic? Maybe you could talk about fashion. Oh gosh, this is the problem. I'm terrible at doing different voices. So, okay, instead of doing a very high pitched girl's voice, I'll make it an old man. Maybe that's easier. So, what should I talk about today? Um, I have a suggestion. Oh, what do you think? Maybe we could talk about uh the beauty. Okay, I give up. My brain is not working right now. You can see I am a great content creator. I have so many ideas. Stupid. So stupid. Okay. So, moving on. Storytelling is very important for many jobs, such as salesmen or lawyers. Very good, Jeff. I completely agree. Yeah. Just saying things and getting people's attention by speaking in an interesting way, I think it's useful in most jobs, especially when you're interacting with other people. It's an essential skill to clinch a deal from clients. Very good, Jeff. Clinch a deal. Nice. Video game waste time. Oh, I like video games. Like two little men fighting in your mind. I like that image. Um, that's another great way to get people's attention. That's using like metaphors. It's like two little men fighting in your mind. Yeah, it's such an interesting way of speaking, and not many people can do this. So, good job, Jeff. First, I think you're Korean or Japanese. I am not Korean or Japanese. Oh, that's nice. Yeah, using a stuffed toy. I wish I could be a ventriloquist. A ventriloquist is a person who uses a puppet or a doll, but they can speak without moving their mouth, so it looks like the puppet is really speaking, right? Let me try and do it. You can see my lips. They're just like. Mm. Oh, oh, you. I give up. I was going to throw it, but I'm not going to injure or damage little Desu-chan. I've nicknamed my puppet Desu-chan because Desu, this is called a lesser panda or lesser panda in Japanese. In English, we would call it a red panda. But as I'm studying Japanese and I'm living in Japan, we called her Desu-chan. Her? Are you a boy or a girl? I'm a boy, you idiot! Oh, sorry. Apologies. Don't have to be so rude, Dad. I got a bit excited with my water. Okay. So where am I from? You can find out in my profile. The panda is from Kung Fu Panda, right? The seafood. Is it? I actually can't remember. Let's quickly look. Kung Fu Panda. Jung Fu. Kung Fu Panda. Shifu. Is it a. Ah, not quite. I don't think he is a red panda. Wait. What animal is he? Oh, you were right. But he doesn't look very red. But very good, Jeff. I stand corrected. I take that back. Oh, look at that. It's so cute. Come on. How can you not love this adorable creature? Come on. I thought he was like a raccoon or like a fox or something. But yeah, it looks like he's a red panda. There you go. All right, I stand corrected. Thank you very much. Okay, right, let's do one more question. Sorry, was there somebody? I apologize. People raise their hand and then it disappears. I'm very slow at realizing, so apologies. Okay, right, let's move on to the next question. What do the objects in your home say about you? Or is it a mistake in this age of Zoom to read into the bookshelves, posters, and other objects and decor you see in the homes of friends, classmates, and celebrities? Let's do a quick exercise. I'm going to turn on the lights so you can see behind me. Just write in the comments, tell me, what do you see in my background? I'm gonna move my camera and give you a better look. Wait. Oh gosh. So, what do you see? Actually, I'm gonna move it here. Hey. So, what do you see? Vocabulary time. Let's move this chair. I'm sorry, my hands are shaking. Can I zoom in a little bit? So, I think that's enough time. Bit of a room tour. Ooh. Let me show you. Do I have anything interesting? Oh. You can see I'm a very emotional person. I have this cute from 4th grade when I was teaching at the school in Hiroshima. I was teaching at an elementary school, and this was every time I cry. Anyway, but yeah, you can see. Sorry, let me read the comments. So, bookshelf, true. Japanese books. Books, doll, chair, wall, DVDs. Good job, Hannah. No DVDs. Pictures, cartoon, lot of books. Red panda, photo frame, curtain with owls on it. Very good. My nickname, Eric. So, yeah, it's mostly Japanese books. And you can see there are different books. Like this one is about psychology. And then I like this one. This one is about random knowledge. I do really like these books where it's just like, it's just useless but interesting knowledge, right? For example, this one says, 涙線は縮まらない? Huh? Actually, I don't know this kanji. I'm stupid. But it's something to do with crying. But it looks like you might think, before I say the answer, based on what you see here, the books, the curtain, the microphone, what do you think this tells you about me? If you had to guess my personality just by looking at the objects, what kind of person would you think this was? Yeah? What do you think? Book lover, definitely, right? Book lover. Maybe somebody who's very educated, reads a lot. But then again, people who read a lot of books are not always smart. Because it depends on the type of book, right? It could be comic books, and that's fine. I'm actually not a bookworm. That's a good word. Well done, Momo. Actually, I think in my whole life, in my whole 30 years of living, I finished less than 10 English books. I don't count children's books because they're very short. And in Japanese, I don't finish a lot of books. Partly because they're not storybooks. They're like, for example, here. Each chapter is different. Oh my gosh, I can't show you that. Holy moly, I'm gonna get cancelled on Hello Talk. Nah, it's just a statue. I hope it's a statue. Is it a statue? Okay, I actually don't know. Oh, the story of the croissant. There you go. What was I saying? I got so distracted by the naked baby. Oh, I've forgotten. A man with old memories. I am a man. I'm an old man with old memories that I've forgotten. Is it a memory if you forget it? Anyway. But yeah. Oh, that was it. Yeah, I don't finish many books. So I understand the value of books. And I really want to be the type of person who can just focus and read a book, start to finish, no problem. But I can't do that. However, recently I've gotten better with these like comic books because I showed this in my last stream, but I've been really into like mystery manga. Novels are too much for me. There's too many words, there's no pictures. I'm a baby. I need some pictures to keep me interested, right? Because similar with just speaking, when somebody speaks for too long, in one ear, out the other. It's just too much. But with pictures, like there's always something going on. You know, it's much easier to understand and visualize, especially when there's like technical language. Like here, they were talking about shapes and colors. And because they have all of these pictures, it's super easy to understand, right? I think I'm very lucky because Japanese is one of the few languages. Well, Japan is one of the few countries or cultures that have comic books. English does have comic books like Spider-Man, Marvel, and stuff, but they're not as popular and there aren't so many compared to Japan. Like, they have floors. If you go to the bookstore for manga in Japan, some of these stores have like 8 floors of these. Of course, they have other books too, but Like, oof, it's great. But anyway, it's very common. Digging deeper in books is very hard. It is very hard, true. I'm so like you in reading books. I've hardly finished any books. All of my books are half read. It's not a good habit, but it's like watching a series, right? Even a TV series. It can be like very long, many seasons, and then you take a break because life gets busy, and you think, oh, I'll watch it again at some point, like maybe next week. And you keep delaying, and then when you finally have the time to watch it, you think, it's been so long, I don't remember what happened last time, so maybe I'll watch it from the beginning. And then you try to watch it from the beginning. It's a bit boring. I remember, and then where was I? And it's just such a pain in the neck, right? So with longer series, it's more difficult. But yeah, I love listening than reading books. Yeah, different people have different ways of studying. Listening, podcasts, movies, speaking. I'm the type of person that just likes to learn through writing, reading, and speak. That's everything. I was going to say, personally, I really like writing, reading, speaking. That's everything. I particularly like speaking, and maybe comics recently. But also, that's another thing. Your feeling changes, your mood changes. One day, you might think, yeah, I feel like, listening to a podcast. The next day, you might see an interesting comic. You think, today I'm gonna dive into this comic. And then when you're watching YouTube, you suddenly see something interesting. Harvard scientist tells you top 10 tricks about psychology, and I'm like, ooh, this is my cup of tea. And then you use it for studying language, right? So it's okay. Try different things. See what you like and what you don't like. And if you don't feel like using one method, it's okay to just take a break. Don't do it. Try something else. Yeah. Interestingly, let me quickly share something I found the other day on YouTube, and it was related to, what do you call it, memory and language. Sorry, this is the wrong section. It was here. I was watching a Japanese YouTube video, and it talked about the most useful or efficient ways of studying. It's all in Japanese, of course, but I will translate it. This is a study done by real researchers. You can see the reference here. Dunlosky, blah, 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 blah. Psychological science in the public interest. And what they found was the most efficient ways of improving vocabulary and, improving your language ability is, one, testing yourself. Questions, right? Now, I can't remember what they mean by testing exactly, because flashcards, you might argue, are a test of your memory, right? So you see the word in your native tongue and you have to translate it into English or your target language. That's kind of a test, but I do not like flashcards at all. For me, I think they're one of the worst ways of studying. So I think when it says test, I think it's talking about multiple choice tests, past paper questions. It gives you a sentence and it says, Mary went to blah, blah, blah. There's like a gap. And then you have to choose the right grammar point from one of the choices. I think that's what it means by testing. Yeah. The other thing is interval training. Okay? Interval training, I think it's talking about spaced repetition. Okay? So spaced repetition means you're not studying regularly, but you're studying, how do I say it? What is it called? The Goldman method. But to put it very simply, you study a list of words, or study something, day 1, day 2, not day 3. You might skip day 3 and then day 4. So 1, 2, 4, 6, 10. Do you notice the pattern? If I had a diagram, the gap between the time you review gets bigger and bigger. Okay? Because human memory is surprisingly strong. So there's no reason to study something every single day if it's just the same thing, like vocabulary, right? So, as it gets easier, so maybe day 1 is pretty difficult. Day 2, it's a bit easier. Maybe you think, I'm still not sure. Okay, I'll study again tomorrow. Day 3, you're like, easy peasy. You don't need to study it the next day. Maybe you don't even need to study it this week. So you delay it to the next week. Now, many people think, oh, but what if I forget? And my answer is, it's okay to forget. But in psychology, by the way, I majored in psychology, so I'm not just saying random things. Memory is very special in the way that if you forget something one time, the second time you remember it will be much faster, and it will kind of, how do I say it? To put it another way, you rarely forget things 100%. Okay? So imagine your brain. There are all of these like synapses, these electrical pathways that go through your brain. Every time you get a new piece of information, you learn something, or you start to try and memorize something, it creates a new connection in your brain. Your brain physically changes. Okay? But when you fail to remember something, for example, oh, how do you say, let's say, I don't know, jishin. Jishin is confidence, or depending on pronunciation, it could be earthquake. So if I look at an English flashcard and it says earthquake, and I think, oh, what was it? I know this word. It's like, and then I forget it. Yeah, I can't remember it completely. It's not like it's completely gone. The pathways are still there in your brain. It's just that you're not able to recall it on that day. But when you flip the card and think, Jishin, oh, of course. The pathway, the connection, is kind of rebuilt or strengthened again. And it's like muscles, right? It's exactly like muscles. When you don't go to the gym, or you don't eat protein for a week or 2 weeks, yeah, you might lose a little bit, but the next time you train, you'll get back to your previous stage very quickly. You're not starting from 0, you're starting from 30% or 40%. Yeah? And that's how we improve our memory. So anyway, I went off topic, but interval training is very good. If you want to find a good way of interval training for vocabulary, you can ask AI to do something like, please make a study schedule for me using interval training, or sorry, spaced repetition it's called. Let me write it here. Spaced repetition. Okay? So studying things or reviewing things, something at increasing intervals. Yeah, so for example, day 1, day 2, day 4, day 7, day 12, and so on. Yeah. There are also apps. I think one of them is called Anki. Anki is a flashcard app. Again, I'm not a fan of apps. I'm not a fan of flashcards, but Anki is great because it automatically, how do I say it? To give you an example, it will show you a word, and then you have to answer, do you remember this word? And there are 3 buttons. Easy, so like, yes, very quickly. Medium, yes, I did remember it, but it took some time, like 5 seconds. Or hard, no, I didn't remember it. If you press hard, it will schedule the card for the next day. Because you didn't remember it. You need to review it. But if it was easy, it will push the review to next week automatically just by pressing the button. Yeah. So if you want to try this as a study method, you can try Anki. If you search it on the App Store, it's called Anki. Okay? All right. So I think that's about it. And then as for mildly useful, like sometimes it's effective, sometimes it's not, medium, thinking about something deeply and explaining things. What was maseawase? I forgot. But let's focus on explaining things. Now, explaining things, teaching somebody something, for example, summarizing a movie or teaching them an idea, something new that you learned from a book that you read recently. It can be a great way of practicing language, but not everybody can do it, which is why it's in this middle category. For people who can do it, it's very good. But unfortunately, not everybody can do this. It's a skill that you need to learn. It's separate from language learning. Of course, it's very interconnected. But anyway. Right, I have been ignoring the comments for a long time, so I apologize. Let's go back. So, comics could be taken as a cultural influence tool for Japan. They are popular in the whole world. That's true, yeah. It's completely changed the world, definitely. Just similar to the way Disney movies have changed the world. Your shelf shows you're a Japanese lover. I am, Mio. I'm a huge Japanese lover. Do you want to hear an idiom? No. And then, I studied Chinese with a spaced repetition method by Anki. Very good, Caden. Nice. And then, synapse. Great word. Synapse is like the gap between these nerve cells. You don't need to know it. When you read one book and you can explain it well to someone, it means you understood the book well. Very true. Exactly. Yeah. But anyway, I think that's all we have time for today. I'm going to end it there because I'm tired, I'm hungry, I'm hot. So, do you guys have any final questions or any comments? Because tomorrow there's no live stream. The next live stream will probably be on Saturday. Why do I know synapses? Well, synapse you learn in college or high school biology, and I like biology, but we also study it in psychology, which was my major. Okay. Final question for you guys. For the regulars, for the people who often come to my live streams, what kind of live streams do you really enjoy? Like, Today we did a kind of free talk. I talked a lot. I was planning to ask people to come on stage, but I think people forgot to kind of, what was it? Yeah, I can let you on, Jeff, in a moment. Just a few minutes because I do have to go soon. Um, just wait a moment, Jeff. I just want to ask, what kind of live streams do you guys want me to do in the future? Maybe like reading live streams, same as before, where I read a graded reader together and I ask you guys questions about the stories. Today, free talk. There were so many questions that we didn't talk about. Um, we had things like, do you turn to your parents for advice? Who most inspires you? Oh, Shohei Otani. Um, what is it like to be a teenager now? This is an interesting comic. Oh, zero self confidence, zero social skills, bad hair days. Yeah. So maybe today, like free talk, talking about many different things. Or what about the themed lessons? Like before we did AI, Valentine's Day, or maybe a little bit of everything. What do you guys think? Yeah. In that case, while you guys answer that, let Jeff on stage. I just want to hear. He had a question, I think. All right. Hi,
Hi, Eric.
Jeff. How you doing?
Very good. Long
Good.
time no see, huh?
Yeah, long time no see. I like your jacket, by the way. Very colorful.
Oh, I'm on a business trip and I'm
Oh,
in
you're in
Beijing. Yeah.
Beijing. Very nice. Yeah. How are you doing? Are you okay? I hope you're not working too hard.
It's okay. Yeah, it's Saturday today. So my
Ah,
question, okay,
yes.
because I know you're very tired,
No, no,
and the
that's okay.
question
Thank
I
you.
will yeah, I dive into the question. Because in this live stream, you mentioned a lot of things about teaching kids. Okay,
Ah,
and Jason will be back next week. Yeah,
yes.
so I want to change the pattern, the learning pattern. I yeah, you mentioned yeah, telling story or telling
Hmm.
something about the book is very important, right?
True, true.
So, and I noticed that you have some new courses on your website, right?
Ah,
Have
right.
you have?
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean,
Uh,
what was it? I usually teach through like reading, free conversation, books. For children, they need a lot more
mm,
guidance because, for example, in free
mm,
conversation, adults usually use their personal experiences or things they've learned as a kind of fuel for discussion, right? But children can't do that because they're still young. So they need a bit more
mm.
guidance with books or they need some inspiration. But yeah, sorry. What were you asking?
Yeah, I was wondering this kind of teaching method. I
Mm,
mean, in your live stream, asking some random questions, maybe within one topic for just maybe 25
yeah.
minutes. I think this is very good way to let him to organize his thoughts, organize his explain his ideas. I think this is a very good way. Do you think so?
It's
Because in this vacation although he hasn't been reading for a long time, but he has been listening to audios, a lot of stories, so I
uh,
want to do some output.
so.
Yeah.
What was it? I think
Mhm.
for Jason, um, with children, they usually, instead of just questions, because they will get bored with questions, because of course they are very imaginative, they're very visual learners, right? So what I would recommend, which is maybe a compromise between discussion and,
Yeah,
instead of just complete input, is
yeah,
maybe
yeah, yeah.
using pictures. So, for example,
Oh,
I might ask you, so, oh, Jason, could you read this for me? So it says, yes, I finally escaped. Wait. And I might ask you, what do you see physically? Like, what do you
Yeah.
see is happening on the page, and you might say some vocabulary. Oh, this man is like, this rabbit man is crawling on the floor, and I might ask, how does he feel? And the student might say, he's hungry, he's tired, I'm not sure. And so using a picture to start the conversation might be a good idea for children, I would say, but just questions might be difficult.
Yeah, understood. Yeah.
But yeah.
Okay. So yeah, that's my question. So I want to change the course
Yeah,
pattern.
no
Yeah,
worries.
maybe.
Of course.
Yeah.
On my website, you can try different things. The one I was talking about is maybe the what's going on in this picture lesson. You can see picture lesson, and
Yeah. I
okay,
saw that. Yeah, I saw that.
yes,
Yeah.
okay. But there you go.
Okay.
No,
Thanks
thank you
for
very
having
much.
me on stage.
Yeah, and I'm glad to see
Thank
you're
you.
doing okay. So please have a
Yeah.
safe trip, okay?
Okay. Thank you.
Great.
Okay.
Thank you, Jeff. See you
So
soon.
so see you. See you.
Bye.
Bye.
There we go, Jeff. So I actually teach Jeff's son, and Jason, he's very fluent. He's a very smart young boy. But yeah, teaching children and teaching adults is very different. And also studying as an adult, as a child, is very different. But for you, very smart adults, I would say, yeah, just try a lot of different things, because actually many people just don't know how to study when it comes to languages, because studying languages is very different from studying science or like engineering and things like that. Often, to improve your language abilities, you also need to do specific training with like replying, asking questions, reactions, and things like that. So there's a lot of stuff you need to think about and be aware of if you want to improve your English ability. Okay? All right. So, yeah, but for me, I try to focus on just making fun materials. I hate textbooks. Now, don't get me wrong, I do use textbooks. Um, I use them in addition to pictures and things like that. I often do a lot of games with my students. For example, I'll quickly show you one of the games I've made. It is this one. Hello? Oh no, please tell me it's gonna load. Is it being very slow? But anyway, like for example, oh, here we go. Yeah, so English games, and we'll do a lot of things like, for example, instead of just asking them to do the exercises in the book, I will give them a picture game. So for example, characters. Yeah. And then every time they answer a question, so in the textbook, it will be like, in, on, under, blah, blah, blah. And there will be a sentence. The cat is the sofa. And then they look at the picture and they would say, on. And every time they get something correct, I would say, okay, choose a number. Oh, sorry, this one. And they'll say 7. So this is a character, right? Do you know what character this is? Some of the children, they're very quick and they're like, oh, this is Doraemon, right? A very popular Japanese character, right? So I will often use pictures or a mini game in between the boring questions, and if they don't get the questions right, they can't play the game. So that's my kind of teaching style if you're interested. For children, for adults, it's more similar to the live stream where I just ask you questions, we have a discussion, and I will give you, lots of feedback about vocabulary, pronunciation, and some good, bad things, or improvement points, let's say. Okay? So anyway, that I didn't mean to advertise, but yeah. Anyway, if you want to, if you're interested in my lessons, you can find a link in my profile. I'll also post it here. Okay. All right. So let's quickly read some of the comments. Irrespective of the type of live you do, they are all useful and full of knowledge. Thank you, Wani. That's very nice of you to say. And irrespective, that's a very high-level word. One thing that reminds me of, thank you, Wani. Some of my students, and well, a lot of language learners, they take the time to learn super high-level language, like irrespective of. And this is great. I will say, though, one common pattern is that language learners will use these high-level words in casual conversation, and it can sound very unnatural. It's not bad, and I understand what you're saying, but it's so formal. And I'm like, oh, are we suddenly in a business meeting? And as a teacher, I understand. And I don't mind, and I think it's great, and you should test these words in lessons. But just remember, if you use these words in casual conversation with a native speaker, they might be impressed, but other people might think like, oh, they might feel a bit awkward, nervous, or they might feel like you're putting distance between you two. Yeah. And this is why sometimes it's really good to use casual slang and things like that. But be careful with slang, because you have to be quite close to use slang. But also be careful with using overly formal language, okay? But great job, Wani. Well done. I want to learn English, but I don't know how. I only understand a little of what you are saying. How do I start learning? So for you, Rana, first of all, you've taken a great first step. You're trying to listen. And if you don't understand everything, that's totally fine. I don't understand everything when I study Japanese. The point is to learn something new every time. Small baby steps. Yeah. And actually, learning to guess what's happening or what the person is saying based on or from the 30 or 40% you do understand is a very important skill, right? If you take a listening exam and you only hear 70%, you can still get a perfect score because you can guess the other parts if you understand the key points of the story and things like that, okay? But for you, Rana, it seems like listening is a challenge for you. So I would recommend, let's see, children's TV shows. What else? Oxford graded readers, I always recommend them. They should pay me for, advertising them so much. With the children's books, the Oxford readers, it has a reading aloud function. So, which means you press the button and there's a professional narrator, a British, I think British and American, you can choose. And you can listen to it as an audiobook. And of course, you can choose the level 1 or level 2 if you're not so confident. And as you improve, you can choose the higher levels. Okay? All right. I hope that answers your question. Now, that's a smart thought. It can work for adults and children. I'm glad you agree. Topics. Are books better than movies? No, it depends on the person and it depends on how you use it. I know you don't like that answer. It depends. But life is never simple. 2, is money key to happiness? That's a deep question. Is it better to work in a team or alone? I'm not going to answer those questions, but that's great for next time. So, could you suggest some textbooks to practice reading? I don't like textbooks for reading. Textbooks are good for grammar and vocabulary, but for reading, I just think reading real books is best. not books for natives, but books for children or maybe graded readers. Okay? Interests are truly essential for long-term learning. Likewise, don't be too overwhelmed. Topic isn't so important as your passion. I completely agree, Jeff. You hit the nail on the head. Yeah. The best teacher in the world, who might have so many years of experience, they could have the perfect teaching technique, but if you don't like their personality or if you don't find them interesting to listen to and talk to, they're not good for you, right? There is no best teacher for everyone. There is only a best teacher for you, right? I've tried many Japanese teachers over the years, and a few years ago I was very lucky to find the teacher who I talk with now. She's great. I love her personality. She's so fun to talk to. She's really kind, polite, and she always gives me detailed feedback, but I just love her personality. She's so fun to talk to, and I always look forward to the lessons, and that motivates me to prepare and kind of, get lots of stories ready to tell her, and it's just great. So, yeah. Passion, interest, super important. Okay. Are you talking in normal speed or slow speed? Sometimes I talk slowly, sometimes I speak medium speed, sometimes I talk quickly. I often talk quickly when I get excited and I get emotional. But when I have something important that I want to say and I really want to emphasize that point, then I will slow down. And also, because Rana earlier asked me a good question, great question, and she said she didn't understand everything, of course, naturally, I tried to slow down. As a teacher, I have to change my level depending on the level of the student, yeah? So, it's a mix, to answer your question. Great. Oh, so many people sending gifts, thank you. Oxford reading stories, very popular in China. Oh, I didn't know it was famous or popular in China specifically. Yeah, there are so many books, right? It's great. Do you think people can learn good English with Duolingo? Personally, I hate Duolingo. But, again, if you enjoy it, you do it every day. For beginners, I think it's probably good. Again, I don't use it so much. But I think for serious learners who want to improve quickly, I don't think Duolingo is good. I think the only case where I would recommend Duolingo is if you have a really lazy child who will not study. Duolingo is better than nothing. Let's put it that way. And actually, it's good as a supplement. It's good as like an extra practice. Let's say you're waiting at the train station, you got some time to kill. I think in that case it's fine. But if you want to study seriously and get some really good, deep listening, reading practice, then I do not recommend it. Okay? But baby steps every day, keep it up, and you will make it. Exactly, right? And I think many people think that English or language learning is like a set goal, but there's no end to language learning. It's not like even after you pass the highest level of exam, you get that piece of paper that says, hey, congratulations, you're a level 1 speaker. That doesn't mean much in real life. When you talk to real people, they're not going to care about this piece of paper. They only care about what you say, how you listen to them, and most importantly, how do you make them feel? You can have perfect language abilities, you can have the best vocabulary, but being a good communicator and having the ability to connect with people is something very different. And if you want to do that, then, well, I can't tell you everything right now because we'll have another 3-4 hour lesson, but you need a lot of practice and you need to reflect a lot on yourself. Okay? Sometimes I do, how do I say it? In my lessons, I don't just teach English, I teach how to make a good impression, how to help the other person enjoy speaking with you. But it's a long story, so we'll leave it there. Okay? To learn new words and expressions, I like to use Babbel. Ooh, Babbel, I've heard of it, but I'm not so familiar with it. Interesting, I'll have to have a look. Busuu, don't know. How long does it take to learn English? It takes a very long time, but again, depends on your goal. But that's the great thing, right? You don't have to be perfect at a language to enjoy it or to use it to change your life. Now, change your life is a bit of an exaggeration, but for example, even if you're just intermediate level, if you have the ability to make small talk, to smile, to enjoy conversation with people, you can go to a different country in Europe, you could go to a nice cafe and meet an elderly couple. You make some small talk with them and they show you, the inside of their cafe, and you make a lifelong friend. These unexpected experiences, you can have them, even if you're just an intermediate level, right? Even if you're a basic level, maybe. Many people are just happy that you're trying to speak their language. Okay? Right. I'm going to end it there. I was planning to finish 40 minutes ago. But thank you so much, guys. And I hope you have a wonderful night. Okay? Please take care. I'm going to have a nice dinner. I'm going to have some Shin Ramen because I'm lazy. And thank you very much, Mio, for always supporting me. Thank you for all of you, both new and regular customers in my School of English. Customers is not right. Customers we only use when people buy a product from you, right? So if they are using your service or they're a student, we don't say customer. We would say client, I would say. Is that right? Yeah. We only use customer when you're buying a physical item from them, okay? But anyway, my throat's dry, I'm hungry, I'm tired. Have a wonderful night or afternoon, evening, wherever you are in the world. And I'll see you next time, okay? Probably next Saturday at 8:30 p.m, but I'll put it on my moments. So, yeah, I'll see you guys very soon. Take care. Bye. Okay, now on the YouTube side. Thank you, Choco. I apologize. I haven't been able to see on this side because of the windows. It's such a nightmare. Okay, but thank you guys for joining on the YouTube side, and I'll see you guys next time. Okay? Bye-bye. Has it stopped streaming? Oh, there we go.